And we're lucky enough to have Philip Chen with us now, Director at Shenyin Wanguo Securities, who's joining us, Lei and I, live from our Hong Kong offices. Philip, good to see you again here on Cash Flow. I wanted to ask you about some of the research. You've mentioned that China stocks have already priced in most of the bad news for the near to medium term, of course, bar any unforeseen negative surprises from Europe. I mean, that does seem to be a relatively risky strategy at this point, given we continuously seem to be getting negative surprises coming from Europe.
Yeah, you're right, but what I think that basically some of the moves that have been made in terms of the obviously changes in some of the leaders in Europe and the deal that they struck at the end of October. Details of that deal have still got to come out more, but it's been relatively more positive. Basically, whilst we don't see there's not going to be maybe more surprises coming, but in the end, it's sort of gathering pace that that they're moving towards some sort of solution. So I think that in itself will sort of calm markets down in the near term.
Okay. All right, Philip, in terms of investment strategy then, what direction are you going in right now? Because we are watching out for any sort of policy changes coming through from the authorities in China. We have seen inflation starting to trend down. Where are the growth opportunities in the China market?
Well, there's going to be, really, there's going to be a mixture of things. I mean, there's going to be relief rallies and valuations have come down to the extent that some sectors are looking, still look good value. For instance, like the ones that we're recommending, like insurance and consumption, going forward. So we'd be looking at those. There's going to be maybe technical rallies in the banks and even property to a certain extent, even though we're negative on those sectors. But in the long run, we look at, like I said, consumption and insurance. So that's where we'd play it. And it's really more on, say, 3 to 4 month view for the time being.
Philip, you're expecting 35% upside in the Hong Kong market. Does that stand for the Asia market as well?
No, the Asia, our prognosis on the Asia market is a little bit more negative. However, we think that this sort of this mini recovery that we've been seeing recently in the Asia market, we think there's still a little bit more upside in the near term for that. But the prognosis for Asia markets is not as positive as we see for the Hong Kong market. Maybe a little bit of upside next year, but certainly not the same. Yeah, sorry.
Sure. You said you like insurance, and we do have a dual listing coming to the Shanghai and Hong Kong markets. Does New China Life look attractive to you?
It looks reasonably attractive, but it's not, of course, not one of the bigger players. And for the insurance companies, it's basically on a case-by-case basis. I mean, we've been recommending PICC for quite some time, and it's because it's got some sort of like unique features about it. So we'd still stick with that. But this New China Life looks okay as well.
Philip, how worried are you about the situation with the local government debt and the bank's ability to manage the rising funding costs that we're seeing in the market?
We're not so worried about the local government debt. Basically, we think that even if property prices come back, or there's some austerity measures, further austerity measures, we think that in any case the government will change its stance excuse me, on property in the near term, so that basically the property sector won't be affected. Local government debt, we think, is not such a huge problem. We think that it's containable within the system.
Philip, you think that Beijing will change its stance on the property austerity measures if prices fall another 15 to 20%? What will happen to property stocks then? Just a relief rally?
Well, I think that you're going to have a relief rally, yeah. And I think even before then you may have some relief rallies anyway, because these stocks are very high beta. So I think that, there'll be a relief rally in the short term. But we're not looking at in the short term, we're looking something like that could happen a few months down the road.
Okay. All right, Philip, really good to have you with us today. Thank you so much for joining Lei and I here on Cashflow.